So when you're looking at the religious aspect of it, religion was at the center of every civilization, some form of religion. Matter of fact, for the first 400 years of the Bible, there was not one king. I've heard a lot the last 20 years, do me. I'm gonna do me. Forget you, bro. I'm just gonna do me. Really? Do you want to do you? How do you know doing you is the right thing to do? Then what's within you? Do you have God in you or you in you? I got involved in the insurance business, bro. I make my own 100K, 200K, big baller. Why? Because I'm comparing myself to everybody I grew up with. I'm making more money than everybody I grew up with. So my identity stayed stuck here. I didn't recreate myself until I recreate myself in God. Everything you're doing right now is by the grace of God. Don't forget it. You know, these networking opportunities, certain people come in your life, it's not by you going there that you're going to gain something. Gain wisdom and understanding. When you gain wisdom and understanding, everything falls through.
I'm excited that we're here today. I'm excited that we made the time for it because, ironically, like I said, it was very ironic. Divine intervention, divine appointment that we literally sat down next to each other. You turned around. You were saying hi to everybody. Hi. What? Yeah, and it was like very interesting.
Very cool.
So I wanna go into that the faith side of you a lot because I believe that's something that's not preached about. And one of the things that I grew up like that I was told growing up is, well, you know, the two things in business that you keep out of business is religion and politics. Yeah. And I was thinking about that. I was like, really? It's good. Really? You know why? Yeah. Because I don't believe in religion. I believe in faith and I believe in a relationship. Yeah. What do you think about that statement?
Well, it's funny that you say that because we're going through a series right now of called Goditics.
Goditics.
God and politics. That God and politics should have mixed. Did you know that the 13 colonies, the first original 13 colonies of America, were of all religious faiths, that every Methodist, Presbyterian, Protestant, all started their own colony? I didn't know that. Yeah, so it's all these different religious organizations, religious denominations that actually started 13 colonies. And the people that started the cities in those colonies were all pastors. Crazy part, right? So and on top of that, a lot of the policies that these colonies incorporated were all God-centered. Everything, everything in God we trust, every bit of God and in our politics, in our policies had God in it. So when you're looking at the religious aspect of it, you know, religion was at the center of every civilization, some form of religion. Matter of fact, for the first 400 years of the Bible, there was not one king. You know, king was God until man corrupted it. And then you get your first kings, right, entering the Bible. But for 400 years, all the tribes of Israel, not one king, bro. King was God. They followed God until man got corrupted with power. Until man got away from the design of God. They started fighting faith more themselves and their resources and their money and their position, their status. And they want to fight that over that instead of honoring and keeping God at the center of all things. And since then, man says, I'm king. By the way, what's the default form of government? What's the default form of government in every civilization?
The default form?
Default form. Without government. Without government. If there's no government, what's the default form? That human beings can get along or have some form of interaction with one another. You know what it's called? Gangs. Mafia. Capo. Boss. Somebody in there, right?
Yeah.
And so they become the power. Where God says, listen, man, you're supposed to be operating under my power. And this, that's the original design of how God wanted. Now God had, that's why eventually over time then, God got pissed off. Things got out of control, fighting over power. It's corruption, selfishness. Everything started becoming me-centered. That's about the biggest phrase I'm always afraid of when people say it, especially this generation. I've heard a lot the last 20 years. Do me. I'm going to do me. Forget you, bro. I'm just going to do me. Really? Do you want to do you? How do you know doing you is the right thing to do? Then what's within you? Do you have God in you or you in you? And what are you following? You following you? Well, how do you know you is right? At least I follow God. Listen, you can argue that, God is not the end all be all, but if you can follow some of the basic principles of the Bible, let's say you follow the 10 Commandments and you do you. Would you be better off than without it? I would agree. Naturally, right? Yeah. So those are the things that people have corrupted why separation of church and state, which is really a letter by Thomas Jefferson. It's a private letter and an answer to some of the policies that are being written. It's a private letter. And then that's when they started this whole separation of church and state. Now, that being said, let's see how the advancement of America has been since this ideology of separation of church and state. Would us having standards, morals, and values make our country better off as the way it originally started? Would we be better off today if we didn't remove God, at least the framing and the principles and the values and the standards that God had? Are we better off today with it or without? A lot of people say no. And a lot of people would argue that for example, a lot of people would argue that we're getting away from Christianity and increasing in Islam. Guess who's having more kids? Christians or Islam? Muslim. Yeah. All day.
I was Patrick mentioned that statistic on his panel with the Syrians, or no, it was the Christian versus the Muslim debate. But I had a conversation with Roger Stone. If you know who he is. Last week we had a conversation, and I told him at the end, I was like, well, you publicly came out to Jesus Christ, and you're in politics, very influential in politics. I mean, you kind of made Trump. Yep. Do you think the reason why these things are happening in America, like all the craziness that you see is happening and stemming from the lack of fear of God? And he was like, what interests me is that he took a pause. He was like, the higher power wants a godless society. And I was like, it kind of went, and it really like,
of course,
it like,
of course,
didn't scare me, but it kind of like,
of course,
you kind of see that happening.
Yeah.
No?
The sad part about religion and government, they're kind of like the same thing. It's controlling people. But the thing is, well, if your people are trained already just to follow and honor God, you don't have to. It's not like God is coming here to force you to do things, because he's giving you free will to follow his ways. But think about what's going on in America today. Force is a dangerous thing. You're forcing people to do things against their will. That's when freedoms get taken away. And if you're right, what happens now, we've taken away the standard of God, the morals, the values, the principles. People today, they were voting for a woman to be in power. Okay, so answer the question. What is a woman? They can't answer, but yet they want to what? They want a woman in power. I don't get it. You can't answer what the definition of a woman is, but yet you want a woman in power. Identity politics for those folks that are voting for Kamala just because she's a woman, which I think is one of the weakest form of making a vote, is just identity politics. You got to get deeper into the policies, not the personalities or the identity of who you're voting in for the job.
Which I also think is what's happening a lot of it today, that people are voting from a standpoint of hate and not so much what they've actually done or policy. It's like, oh, you hate Trump? Oh, okay, me too. Oh, okay. You hate we're Trump haters. Everybody come here and we're gonna vote against it. Like that's kind of what's happening. I'm young. This is what I'm experiencing, because you see it in college campuses. You see Charlie Kirk. I know you interviewed him. He's going to college campuses. He always has these debates, and every single one of the debates, they're saying, "You're a racist." And he's like, "Give me one stat." He's like,
"Yeah,
I hate Trump. What don't you like about him?"
Don't know.
He has an answer, and it's kind of like,
some of my friends don't like him. That's really what they want to say.
And I think that's what's happening, and that's that moves me. That moves me a lot, because when that starts to happen is when the naiveness is taken advantage, because I think we're the generation that is being targeted because we're naive, we're young, we're 19, we're 25, we're 21. Our brains aren't even fully developed. Like, let's just propagate them with lies and propagate them with the things that aren't true, and then say that the people that are standing up for something that is right, just denounce them, shadow ban them, whatever it may be. I mean, that's what you see.
That's what China did. So that's what China did. When China incorporated, under Mao Zedong, right? When they incorporated socialism that turned into communism, they asked people to stand up and get out, and they literally murdered them. So you don't like this? You don't like this route? This is the way we're running things from here going forward, because we're going to take care of it from here going forward. You don't like it? Take off. When you take off, boom, execute it. And then, who did they recruit going forward? They recruited high school, college, to usher in a new form of government.
Do you think that's kind of what's happening?
Bro,
you led me to a communism.
Those seeds are being planted today.
You sow what you reap.
Yeah. So the large part about, working together with Patrick and being inside the life insurance industry is we are in the anticipation game. We see trends before trends become trends. The anticipation. That's why Patrick's anticipating. Hey, listen, if Americans and Christians don't have more babies, then we can't get mad that Muslims start taking over the world. That they're doing their part. And by there's nothing against. I have very good friends that are Muslim. Love my Muslim cousins, right? But when you're looking at the faith, the growing of America, the ideology of the experiment of America, continuing the values and principles of what got America started, it's eroding away from that. And people are looking at a country. The great sales tactic is, hey man, you got this. Isn't it bad? Isn't it horrible? Isn't it worse? Couldn't you be in a much better position without looking back into history? What's it saying? History is the memory of a country. The memory of a country, just like memories are a memory to an individual. So with that history, that memory, it's an understanding. Like for example, if you're raising a family, you will raise your family based on your memories of how your mom and dad raised you, your cousins, right? So similar to America, we will raise our nation, our future generations based on our history, our memories. And guess what they're doing to the memories and history of our country? Either they're removing it or covering up or trying to rewrite it. It's a scary thing.
It is a scary thing, and I think that's why it's even more important for my generation specifically, because they only, in my opinion, the stuff that's being put out there, right, the establishment, whatever that you want to label it, is really heavily targeting the younger generation, because that is the next generation. Yeah. So, but I also do see, and I had this conversation, it was very interesting. I had this conversation because I also do believe that the flip side is happening too. There's also the people that are waking up and saying, that's kind of BS, I'm not going to just go along with this because you say, and that side is also waking up. So it's interesting to see the correlation. It's like, well, there's more of the establishment pushing like hardcore agendas. I mean, you're seeing Satan being normalized in every music video and every reel that you see. It's like, it's just very normalized.
Statues being put in state government buildings.
It's normalized, right? But then you also have the other side that's very like, bro, like this is not normal.
You know what's being normalized too? Assassination attempts on the president or the presidential candidates. That's being normalized. 5 weeks after former President Trump got the assassination attempt, 5 weeks later, nobody's talking about it until this week. So it attempted to happen again. And watch how fast it'll drop from the news cycle.
I was thinking about that. I was like, why was that? That's a major, like, is that not comprehensible? When was the last time a president was literally an inch away from assassination? Like, how did that just vanish away from the mainstream media in like a week or two?
And how come there's not a unification of the government of both Republican and Democrats? Say, hey, listen, America, we are better than this. This is not us. Stop this shit. They're not saying it. Nobody's saying it. And it's crazy because you know what? A couple things is if they say it, they're admitting that it's their rhetoric that's causing this. But even if it is, or both on Republican side and the Democrat side, if the country's leaders would just say, hey, America, this shit's got to stop. This is not America. Where's the leader? I don't see the leader.
And they say it in a way that's still in favor of them. They say, well, we don't condone violence or we don't believe in violence. But then they say he's a threat to democracy. It's like, pick your side, It's like, interesting.
Listen, you can say what you want to say about Trump, but, most politicians that get in office and they increase their net worth. President Trump got into office, he's decreased his net worth. And yet he still loves America.
I mean, the guy's been shot twice,
And people say it's after status. I don't know, man. You've taken out me. You put me in court. You put me in, put these felonies on me. You put me, you've regulated my company, Trump Organization. You've taken away a lot. Not only you've done that to me, you've hurt my friends, my inner circle. You've hurt my children. And nobody's flipping. So you've hurt his friends, right? And nobody's flipping. What does that say? Nobody's outright flipping. That's notable. Giuliani lost a lot. He's not flipping. So Roger Stone,
he didn't flip.
He's not flipping.
He did not flip. We had that conversation.
So his guys are flipping. Now what's going on? The other side, a lot of those guys on the other side, they're flipping. Look at what happened to Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard was supposed to speak at our conference. We got a message that she can't fly to our conference because she got, she got put on another list. That they're swabbing every bit of her suitcases as she flies through airports. Like she's being profiled as a terrorist.
I didn't hear that story.
Oh, yeah. She's supposed to speak at our conference. Yeah. Andrew Gaines here in our office was going to interview her on stage. And so she could not come out.
We canceled.
because she couldn't get to Vegas. Yeah, extraneous TSA investigation just because she goes through an airport to fly from one airport to another. On that airplane, I think on the lowest there's 5 Secret Service agents or Homeland Security agents, excuse me, that have to be there. You won't know who they are, but for every flight that she's on, they have to assign 3 to 5 to watch her. Yeah, she's bomb detected, swabbed, right, to fly.
Hey, well, at that point, we could start a GoFundMe to fly her private to everywhere. No, I'll put into that because that's insane.
Yeah.
And you know what's happening though? That's one of the voices alongside with RFK. That's one of the voices that they're flipping.
Yeah.
And it's like not just kind of flipping, not just endorsing and running, being almost like a running mate, almost.
RFK is a big one. You know why he's a big one?
Why?
Is because that's not only our family's Democratic Party, but they served in the Democrat Party. And that's like the lineage.
Arguably one of the most famous,
powerful political families in America.
And the Democratic, the Democratic side for sure.
And for him to leave, when we were interviewing him at the town hall with Patrick had at Valley Tame, I don't know if you were there, but I asked him a question. I said, who was your counsel to have you leave? Because that's a big move, and that's a move you just can't undo. And so that's what he said. I said, I didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left me. A lot of that rhetoric, a lot of the conversation, and a lot of people, his family, a lot of pushback. But he felt it was right to do for America because he loves America. Because what does Uncle say? Don't ask what your country can do for 1963. Don't ask what your country can do. What can you do if ask what you can do for correct? What can you do for your country? Now, what's the Democratic side saying? We can do this for you, just as long as you vote us in. Free this, for this. It's flipped.
There was a quote, I don't know if it was Charlie Kirk or somebody that said, be fearful when the government says they can fix all your problems.
Oh, for sure.
Somebody, but they said, be fearful when the government says they can fix all your problems because that's literally communism. Or communism is.
The government's supposed to be out of your way, man. The government's not supposed to be there. Government's supposed to be there just to make sure bullies don't show up. For example, back to the original form of government, you have your tribe, I have my tribe. But if there's a bully in my family, bullying your family, or a bully from your family trying to bully somebody in my family, and vice versa, now there's conflict, now there's war. Now you need laws to keep the bully from showing up. See, that's when you need government. But it needs to be smaller. But it's gotten bigger. Largest employer in the United States of America is the federal government. Right? So it's a crazy evolution.
I'm happy we had this conversation. I'm going to be honest. I was right. I've said this, I think 3 times on other podcasts. I always write out the questions. I watch hours of your content. And I always plan for the podcast to go a certain way. And it always goes that. And I'm like, you know what? That's kind of how it is. And I think the best people, and I was listening to a video by Patrick where the best people that actually succeed in the podcast they go in the layers, whatever that direction is. But if you try to force it so much that way, just side note, because now that we get into the politics talk, I want to go back to the faith side of it, because you had something where, I would say that's one of the lows of life, which is bankruptcy. And financially, I don't know if it gets any lower than bankruptcy.
I filed bankruptcy. I was 26, 1998, long time ago.
You filed for bankruptcy, right? That was after you left the Marines, right?
That was while I was in the Marines.
Oh, while you were in the Marines?
Yeah, my last year. Yeah, my last year.
So last year in the Marines, you filed for bankruptcy.
Yep.
Now, you have this book, Faith-Made Millionaire. At that time, though, did you have any faith that, man, I'm really going to get out of this bankruptcy, like, I'm going to do it? Or was it just like, I don't know if this is going to work?
No, I had zero faith. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get, at least now my faith is I have to pay these massive credit card bills, because literally 90% of my paycheck was going to credit card bills. And every time I ask myself, man, I'm just working for everybody else, because I did the erroneous thing of having somebody joint account holder while I was deployed, swipe the credit card while I was gone. So that was my issue, right? And then I would add to the issue me. When I got back, I'm like, I deserve to do this, I deserve to have this, I deserve that. Again, I also charged my half of the credit card. So half the problem is because I allowed somebody, but it's still originally my fault. And my original fault is I was just going crazy with buying shit. And it's not a good mental framing, financial framing to have in terms of celebration. That's why a lot of people call it retail therapy, or and men and women spend money differently. Men they have money, and the things they feel powerful to buy, they'll buy at a premium, right? Women buy things to soothe, exercise, oh, my family needs this. A lot of women don't buy necessarily a lot of things for themselves. They buy it for other people that they care about, or right, and want to take care of the security and the financial nest egg of their home. For majority of women, not all, but the majority of men though. What? I can't buy this? Psh, I'm gonna show you. Buy it. That's the way I was thinking about money, buying a car. And if I don't have the money, I'm gonna find the money. I'm gonna borrow it.
So that's how you were thinking.
Yeah.
Just prior to the bankruptcy happening.
Correct. You tell me I can't do this, because for me, I'm wired that way. I'm gonna prove you wrong. You tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna prove you wrong. Especially the subject of money. I just haven't. At that time, I wasn't mature with it yet. I was just very, very immature until I started having a process how to make financial decisions. It's so funny. We're making millions today, but I go to the Dick's Sporting Good, and I want a new pair of joggers, right? I'm buying the joggers. I'm like, bro, I can buy the whole damn set. To put blah, 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 blah. I'm still being frugal. I'm like, this is not on sale, man. Let me look at the sale rack. I'm so funny I'm doing this. Like, it's a $20 decision, but I'm still wired, because once you make it and you earn it, you know the work it took to earn it, and you respect that process. That's why when I talk to guys, I want to raise capital. Once you raise your own capital, it means you make profit, you put that inside, that's capital you can put back into your business, because you treat this different than you raising somebody else's money. You could spend money on other people's. You spend a credit card faster than you would spend your own cash in the bank. And when business owners and people get investors that raise money, I just raised $1 million. Shh. It's not like you're $1 million. Yeah, if you go out of business, they lost $1 million, but you get to start something new, right? They're on the hook for it. So you're going to treat other people's money differently than you treat your own $1 million in a bank differently. So just to let you know, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years now. I don't know how to fill out an SBA small business loan. I've never taken out a business loan. I've always made money, saved money, set it to the side, capitalized, and then when it's time to make a move, I put the money in. If there's anything I used as from a financing source, it's credit cards. But I pay off my credit cards every month. My account's Matt, we have like 10 credit cards. Yeah, because I got a credit card for Hilton, for for Delta, I got all the different travel credit cards because I want to maximize my points. Yeah. Because that's the game I play. You got to be very careful with it though, if that's the game you want to play. Yeah. My credit card game is not maximizing credit limits. It's if I'm spending $1, I'm 3 back in terms of points, so I can stay at a hotel somewhere, or buy a ticket for a staff member who wants to fly out, and it's last minute. I'll just burn all the points just to make sure 2-3 staff members come in, like those things. Or I want to bring staff to a company paid trip that we didn't budget for, but we got these points on the side that they can send this company paid trip.
How much of that you getting out of the bankruptcy was, well, God, I'm going to trust you and I'm just going to wait and I'm going to trust you, versus how much of it was, let me put my head down, let me read all these books, let me put in this work? Like, how much was it of?
It was zero faith.
You had no faith getting out of it.
Zero faith. Mad, angry, victim, blame. That's where I was. That's why I know the language, because I was doing it for me. For my entire 20s, it was a victim entitlement language. If only she did this. If only they did this. If only somebody helped me this. Oh, such a weak language. I was weak in my 20s. I was weak in my late teens. I was weak in my late 20s. It's the a federal employee mentality. I'm just doing enough for government work. And then the Marine Corps says, man, maximize it. And then I started buying into more of the military Marine Corps mentality. And then I realized I was there for, so after that, I'm like, how do I make more money? Oh, get promoted. Shit, how do I get promoted? Well, Sapaula, we have a promotional board here called the Meritorious Board. So if you compete with these other Marines in these 5 different events, military drill, physical fitness, marksmanship, techniques of military instruction, and military knowledge. Those are 5 key areas, and they evaluate in those 5 key areas. And so I compete with the best Marine out of every unit. So there's total of us was 6. So I kicked everybody's ass because I prepared for it. I got the pay raise. Next promotion board comes, can I go? Yeah, I won it. Kicked everybody. Why? Because I prepared. Then I started reading the books. Then I started asking for mentorship. So once I got myself out of the blame game, entitlement, victim mentality, and asked myself, what can I do for me? That's when my life started to change.
So then if everything's going well, at what point do you come to God, come to Christ?
I want to get my ass kicked again. I'm doing everything right, man. I guess going on. And then I got my ass kicked again, man. I got involved in another relationship, and I got twins. What am I doing wrong? And then this is where fellowship and friendship come into play, association come into play. I had a friend who just kept inviting me to church. I thought, bro, I need God, man. I got this. I got involved in the insurance business, bro. I'm making my own 100K, 200K, big baller. 30K, big baller. Right? Why? Because I'm comparing myself to everybody I grew up with. I'm making more money than everybody I grew up with. So my identity stayed stuck here. I didn't recreate myself until I recreate myself in God. Because then, in my book, Faith-Made Millionaire, I talk about me after my 30th birthday party. This is when God really came in my life. My 30th birthday party, closed out the bar, everybody had drinks. So I'm waking up in the morning, right? I think I'm in my bed, waking up. Nope. I found myself waking up, bro? In my car, on the opposite side of the road, driving 30 miles an hour on Cicero Avenue in Cermak in Chicago. People from Chicago know what I'm talking about. And then I see a car come at my way, and all I see in the windshield is big eyeballs. Like, what's this guy doing? So he veers left, goes into the opposite side. I veer left to avoid him. I almost hit the bus stop on the opposite side. I veer all the way right to get back on the right side of traffic. I shove my car in the park. I said, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? You almost orphaned your kids. Where she could have killed some other person, innocent, to my bullshit, because I want to drink my problems away. So at that point, I said, man, that was my come to Jesus moment. I can't live my life like this, man. I'm balling in my car. Can you imagine me doing something stupid, so selfish, again, so damn drunk, I didn't know where I'm waking up. I could almost orphan my kids that moment. I was 30 seconds away from orphaning my kids. I said, all right, guy, you still invite me to church? Yeah. All right, I come. 6 o'clock in the morning, though. He picks up the call. I said, oh, see you at service at 8:30. So I go to Denny's to try to sober up.
So yeah, I was gonna say, so you were still kind of drunk going into
I'm drinking coffee, So I get there, man. I go to church, man. Church service already starting. Doors are closed. There's a lady, it's the weirdest thing. Lady comes up to me and says, oh yeah, we've been waiting for you. I don't know who she is.
At Denny's or at church?
I finally come to church.
Okay.
After Denny's, I go to church. And the lady comes up to me, yeah, the doors are closed. Yeah, but we've been waiting for you. Okay. She opens up the double door to the sanctuary, and I just feel this rushing wind just hit me completely. Now I'm really sober. Oh, something hit me. And the pastor talks about change. Pastor Choco, Wilfredo de Jesus, New Life Covenant Church, Humboldt Park, Chicago, Paseo de Baricua, right? Puerto Rican neighborhood, right? And big Puerto Rican flags there, man. The Vichon, and that area there, California, Division, California. So when you're looking at Division N2 all the way to Western, when you are in that position, I find myself in the worst position, I actually find myself in the best position. So that's why I'm always humbled with money, because I ask myself, okay, what God gift, you can always take away. Do you want to maintain your humility on your come up? Because you don't maintain your humility to come up. Well, man, if you think you're the one who's been giving you these gifts and blessings, well, God's going to have a little message for you, a little situation for you. So you better maintain your obedience and your blessings and know where they come from and honor that and know that it's not you rising yourself. It's God lifting you and rising you to the next level. If you think it's you, that's why I say celebrity's a gift. Right? When people are celebrities, like Patrick knows this, he's a celebrity now. That's a gift. And Patrick understands the hand of God in his life. That's why guys continue to honor him and lift him up. Anybody up there, any type of elevation is either a gift or it's a part of your destiny. If you know it's a gift, it's like so many people rise to celebrity fairly easily. Okay, but what do you do with that gift? Do you please man or do you please God? If it's pleasing man, it's going to be a short-lived gift. If it's pleasing God and for the advancement of God, in my opinion, again, I could be wrong, you could be advancing God and God's going to say, I'm going to keep you there.
There's a quote, big on sound bites, like quotes. I like that God will often meet a man at his lowest. And it's kind of what happened to you, like literally like your lowest. Like he's technically spared your life because you easily could have crashed into the guy. The guy could have swerved the other way and then right into you. Like a lot of stuff could have gone bad, but God's grace, I believe, he's very merciful. And I've experienced it in my life because we'll be disobedient to him. Say there'll be 20
mercy you don't deserve.
Exactly. There'll be 20 signs that are like, well, you really don't deserve any of this. And then somehow it's still always happening at the right time for the right reasons. And it's like, well, there's nobody else that you could think but God. And I want to piggyback off of something that you said, where that if somebody says, well, I got here because of me, I think that's a very dangerous spot to be, because, and I want to get your take on it, that the Bible says, you know, what God gives, he can also take away. And that's his blessing, him taking away and him giving to him.
Yep.
How do you kind of balance that? Because especially as an entrepreneur, when you know you're putting in the hours, you know you're putting in the work, it's easy to get caught up in the, well, you know, this is kind of me, God. I know you. Yeah. How do you balance that?
Yeah. Well, it's just the awareness of it, right? It's the awareness of it. Like, for example, our chance meeting at the CEO dinner. Of all the people there at the CEO dinner, why are we sitting next to each other? Why am I getting recruited from somebody who prospects me in the bathroom of a Best Buy? Bro, that's how I got involved in financial service. I wasn't Indeed or Monster.com. It wasn't a job interview. No, bro. Somebody hit me up in the bathroom of a Best Buy and asked me if I wanted to consider financial service in my next career.
It's kind of ironic, sorry to cut you off, that now you're on the bathroom stalls. You remember of the vault? That's kind of ironic. I just thought about that. So now people are probably finding you in the bathroom, and that's a very full circle.
Oh, because Manek put me in the bathroom of the vault?
That's kind of full circle.
That is funny. That is funny. That's hilarious. It's funny that you saw that. So, you know, when you're looking at these thoughts, ideas, these dispositions, everything you're doing right now is by the grace of God. Don't forget it. You know, these networking opportunities, certain people come in your life, it's not by you going there solely, but God's also putting people, conversation, opportunities in your way to see how well that skill has been improving, to see whether or not you're there to bring value to other people versus value only to yourself. People are seeing if these divine connections are happening. Are you wasting the time there and not stewarding the time and resource there, talking to the wrong person versus finding a person that you really meant to talk to, right? And so I'm aware, I'm conscious. That's part of this. Maybe you've heard of emotional intelligence, right? This is part of the spiritual intelligence. What's the spiritual intelligence? What's the wiring? And by the way, we know about emotional intelligence because we read about it. Well, how do we know if you have spiritual intelligence? Well, you got to read about that too. Got to read how. And by the way, if there's a book for people to talk, a lot of believers say, read the book of John, the gospel, right? Lead you closer to Christ. Amen. You know what led me closer to Christ? Through my pocket. Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, which is written by the richest and wisest king who ever lived, who was a son of David. You know that, right? Solomon. Solomon was known as the richest and wisest king who ever lived. And I would kind of say that his Proverbs are the original mean tweets. Because he's straight up in your face. Boom. And he says here, the beginning of Proverbs 1, he said, if you're going to gain something, gain wisdom and understanding. Because when you gain wisdom and understanding, everything falls through. What does that mean, though? When you're gaining and exercising that wisdom and understanding, what are you doing? Are you doing more talking, more listening? What do you think? If you're gaining wisdom and understanding, you're doing more listening and asking of questions. That's what people forgot to do today. Remember, if people today would just understand other people's side of the argument, with wisdom, they can, and if they're reasonable, they're willing to woo them on the other side. By the way, what have you been seeing on Charlie Kirk's content lately? I'm a liberal, convince me why I should vote for Trump. And then it gives them 3 points. Okay, give me a hat. A lot of these kids are becoming reasonable because they're seeing the reality of the world living. First question you ask them, okay, think about this. Do you ever want to buy, you graduate college, you want to buy a house? I do. Well, guess what? In this current market, you're not buying a house until you're 30, 35, 40 years old. We're going to be a nation of renters versus a nation of owners, and your opportunity to build wealth is later on. You're punting until you're 30, 40 years old. Now you're 20 because you're saddled with student loan debt, and you have income from these jobs and employers does not pay you close to live and or pay for a mortgage. Right here in the Dallas area, the average house here in Dallas is $500,000. The better question is the average mortgage here for that $500,000 is just principal and interest is $2,300 plus another $800-900 in property tax, plus another couple $100 in insurance. Maybe if you live in an HOA, another couple $100 in HOA. You're looking at a $3,800, $4,000 monthly mortgage. Who can afford that coming out of college? You're barely even making that coming out of college. And then you got a student loan debt payment? Forget about it. My 3 older kids, none went to college. I was ahead of this college train because I knew, being enrolled in personal finance, I knew what the wreckage of debt does to people, and the reward to risk of going to college was not worth it. And I always tell my kids, listen, want to help your kids to college? This is how you help them. Let them know that the grades are their currency. Let them know in 7th grade, 8th grade, freshman, your grades are currency. Your grades are currency. You're being an overall good student in the high school is going to get you a good application for going to college. Be good. That's your currency. They'll help you go to college, and I'll cover the difference. Or you'll cover the difference with whatever minimal student loan debt, but you can get a healthy financial aid package and reduce what your your EFC is on the FAFSA, right? You expect a family contribution,
Yeah.
right? But if you blow it off, I'll blow it off to his mom and dad. And guess what my kids did? I realized that they weren't very good at school. So what do you want to do for college? I want to go for dance. What? You ain't learn how to dance in college.
That was a live reaction.
Yeah, what? You ain't going to college to learn how to dance. You just go dance. You go. It's this, especially this TikTok generation. You gotta go learn $40,000 you learn how to dance at Columbia.
Learning how to dance.
No. What do you want to do? If it's not STEM, right? It's not STEM or legal. I'm not. Now, if you want to go to college, knock yourself out. But here's what you got though: student loan debt. All 3 of my kids said, they processed it. Yeah, you're probably not good for college because the money issue. Good, but wait, none of them have student loan debt. None of them have student loan debt. My son now he's got a family. He's growing. Very proud of him. My daughter, she's got a growing esthetician business. Very proud of her. My daughter's working right now. No debt. They're not a burden to society. They're not a burden to themselves. They're actually contributing more. Now all their friends, student loan debt. Where they working? Mall. And she goes, aren't you glad you didn't go to college? Yeah, Papi, I didn't realize it. Now I get it now, Papi. I get it now.
That's what we need more from, and that stems from the seeking wisdom more.
That's right.
And listening more. So it's interesting. I want to read you a couple of verses that I think you'll like. I want to get your take on it, because it's interesting how you said that you found Christ, or you personally grew closer to Christ because of your podcast, like reading Ecclesiastes and reading Proverbs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ecclesiastes is my personal favorite because it's very kind of depressing. When you first read it, you're like, but then there's some type of like, it makes sense. Like there's wisdom in the depression, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the first 6 chapters of Ecclesiastes, like, where's the guy in Proverbs? Where's that king of Proverbs? Where'd that guy go?
Proverbs?
Yeah.
So there's a verse, Galatians 5, chapter 7.
Okay.
Do you know it?
Tell me.
It's called, I'm going to verbatim it because I didn't read the whole thing because I remember it for the most
I got Bible
part,
app.
where it says, you sow what you reap. So in due time you will sow what you reap, so do not give up. What's your take on that?
So it was one more time.
Sow what you reap.
So you said Galatians
5, 7.
Let's read it then. Galatians.
I think I have it on my own.
5,
7.
5, 7.
Yep.
Okay, 5.
Let us not be weary. Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, read it.
I forgot it was on my. It says, "Let us not be weary in doing good, for we will reap in due season if we don't give up."
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's so. What's Galatians? So Paul is writing that letter to the seat of the Church of Galatia, right? So he's in prison. So just keep in mind those letters, Corinthians, Galatians, all those letters are written by Paul, who's been arrested, sitting in a Roman jail, writing it to the churches. So he's in a worse spot. He's locked up, but he's writing these letters to Galatia. So the scripture was to not give up.
Yeah.
Well, of course. I mean, a lot of people wonder why I don't get rich quick. That's why a lot of people today get scammed by themselves, because their mindset is get rich quick. And even in Proverbs, back to King Solomon, says money gotten by short-term means long-term ill. If you read, I don't know offhand, but it's one of the Proverbs. Any means of money gained by basically quickness means long-term ill. I can't tell you how many arguments I got with my social media team because they wanted to do the 7-figure squad. They wanted to mint it to become an NFT. Man, we can do these podcasts. We can do these type of live private public events. If we sell it for $50,000, blah, 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 right? Mastermind this. Right? If they buy your NFT, I'm not doing it. It's too good. Well, who was right? Because it reminded me of the 2001 .com bubble when I saw everybody having the same mindset, get rich quick mentality when it came to .com. Now, this is going back in the day. But everything back then, .com, crap.com, soil.com, papertowel.com, everything had a .com. Everybody thought it was a company. Now you have to have a company behind a .com. But so many people lost money during the .com craze. So I processed that hurt and pain as future wisdom for the NFTs and even Bitcoin community. Everybody putting all their money inside there, and in the last 3, 4, 5 years, people got hurt. Of course, the last year has been on the come up, but so many people have been hurt in the process. So that's why I'm always weary about certain things that sound shiny, that sound too overly lucrative. The spiritual intelligence gives me say, you know what, money that's done by planting seeds, growing it, and harvesting, that's money that you can count on. The hope, the lottery, you can't.
I like that. This one is your favorite because you said it in a video, the parable of the 3 servants.
I love it. Matthew 25.
So for those of you that don't know, I'm just going to briefly go through it. The parable of the 3 servants is that there was a king and there was 3 servants.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he had each given them, he had given them different amounts. One was 5, paraphrasing,
Yeah.
one was 5 coins, and one was 2, another one was 1.
That's right.
Person with 5, he was like, the king told the servants, hey, I'm going to go away, take care of my stuff, do what you will, take care of it. And then when the king went away, he came back a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever the timeline is, and he asked the person with the 5 coins, he's like, how many coins do you have? He was like, king, I have 10, I doubled it.
Yeah.
What I did with this. Awesome. He went to the next servant, he was like, well, how many coins do you have now? King, you gave me 2, remember you gave me 2? I have 4 now, I doubled it just for you. He was like, well done, faithful servant. And then he went to the last one, which he gave the least 2.
Yes.
And he had 1 coin. And he said, what did you do with your coin?
Yeah.
It's like, king, look, this was the only coin that you gave me. I did not want to lose it. I put it in the ground. I hope that you're proud of me. He's like,
I had to lose it, right?
you don't understand. And then the most powerful thing that Christ said, it was like, to those who do little with the little that they have, nothing more will be added.
Yeah.
So be fruitful with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I take from it. Obviously, that's what Christ said, but I want to get your take on it because I know you talked about that before.
Yeah, I mean, I look back and why did the master give 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 5? In scripture there it says he gave them those talents, that money, according to their ability. So I asked myself, okay, God, how come you don't give me nothing? Shit, I got no ability. I'm not improving my skills. I'm not investing in myself. I'm in the blame game. I'm in the victim mentality. Everybody should be giving me. I'm a veteran. Everybody needs to take care of me. I'm a veteran. You need to honor me always. I'm a veteran. You need to give me discounts everywhere. Come on, man. I know I get it. I know this country could do better for its veterans, but I'm not expecting it. Because the God I serve, the kingdom I serve is not the kingdom of America, it's the kingdom of God. That's the kingdom I serve. That's my VA benefit. That's where I draw my strength and my resource and my source from. So when I'm looking at, okay, if you're going to give me 1 talent, I can't be like that guy who operated in fear. The opposite side of faith is fear. And when fear is taken up, faith can enter. When faith is taken up, fear can enter.
The two can't coexist.
When light and darkness come together, light will always outshine darkness. Darkness cannot, unless there's a removal of light. You remove yourself from the space.
It's very powerful.
So if you remove the light within inside your spirit, guess what will come in? It's the darkness.
Proverbs 16:9. Personally, my favorite chapter. It's very inspiring, but also kind of, you see the side of him that was from Ecclesiastics. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I could see. He kind of had it.
Yeah.
It was like he was very real. 16:9 says, we can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps.
Yep. It's right. It's right. So when you're doing something, right? You're planning something. Okay, God, these are my business plan. Is this where you're leading me to? And sometimes, for example, when I was coming out of the Marine Corps, I was naturally certified to be a police officer. I was naturally certified to work for the FBI, the Secret Service, the 3-letter agencies, because of I can be a contractor making $200,000 a year, going back overseas and have none of that money taxed, but I'm deployed again away from my 3 kids, which was the point of me getting out. Yeah. So I said, okay, Lord, right? So I started attending church at that point in my life. I just went through the divorce, went through the bankruptcy. Now I'm a single father. I'm very empty. You mentioned earlier that guy was meeting me at a low point. That's where I was. So I started attending Calvary Church in Southern California, right behind South Coast Plaza Mall, right there off the 405, off the Bristol. And that's where I met Greg Laurie, Pastor Greg Laurie. So he's the one who created that movie, Jesus Revolution. Yeah, so that's the pastor. So I'd hear him preach.
Love that movie. There's actually a quote there that I live by that. This generation is looking for all the right things in all the wrong places.
Uh-huh.
That's exactly what's
right. That's right.
I love that movie.
So Monday nights was Bible study. And Bible study was so packed at that church, people are in the courtyard with a speaker system just listening in through the glass in the sanctuary. And I'd be there with my boys just taking notes. Then God just started sowing the seed, God was stirring it up in me. And then I'm about to leave the military completely, and I get invited to a Thanksgiving dinner. And this lady, Angie Kardashian, not the Kardashian we're thinking about, but Angie Kardashian, Armenian, and she'd and always invite me to her restaurant right there, Angie's Italian restaurant right off of Newport Boulevard, for you guys know, there in Tustin. And I'd never go. This year, finally I'm getting out, I'll go. Right? She's like the ambassador, and she just loves the Marines. So all the Marines can come to our restaurant, eat for free. Okay, I go out there, eat. Matt, come to church. Why? Come to church. Why? Come to church. Fine. Come to church. I get the address. Boom. I'm looking for the church. This is like a college campus. Did I end up in the wrong spot? No, you're just park. Okay, this is a church? Bro, humongous. Okay? And I walk into it, and the pastor starts talking about change, preparing for change. Here are the things you need to prepare. What a message for me to get out the military, right? And then I get up, saying something awesome, and I get out, I get the tape. I can't believe I just dated myself. I get the cassette tape, a message from it, because you come out, they give you a tape if you want it, because they record and give it to you. And then I kept it, and I listened to it on my drive back from California to Chicago. You know that tape was from, that church was from? Saddleback Church, the purpose-driven church, the purpose-driven life, Rick Warren. That was Saddleback Church. That was his church. The pastor that prayed for Obama on his way in. You know, so it's just crazy what God is, the divine appointments of all the Italian restaurant I'm supposed to go to, of all the Kardashians I'm supposed to meet in Southern California. I meet her, go to her restaurant, go to that church, to have the seed planted in my life, to come back to Chicago, where I'm from, to do some big work. So when you're looking at that type of stuff, I thought I was going to be a cop. I thought I was going to be an aircraft maintenance guy because I worked on helicopters. I was a machine gunner. I thought I was going to be working for the three-letter federal organizations to take my GS and my military experiences, therefore I could be advanced faster than everybody just started from day one. No. I ended up in the life insurance industry, bro. I ended up in
it. Probably turned out way better than it would have.
Of course. Of course. Now I learn about generational wealth. Now I learn about this. I don't think would ever plan that for myself. So whatever you think you got planned for yourself, God's got something greater. Let's go. God's something great for you. What you think your plans are, God's something greater. Pray for it, expect it. But if you have not because you asked not, I pray that you lay your plans before the Lord and ask God to sow a seed. He may give you a greater opportunity than what you think it is.
Seeking you shall find.
That's right.
Asking you shall receive. And
knocking you shall enter.
Exactly. Yeah. And additionally to that, the bigger purpose for this, because everybody has a podcast, and I'm like, you know what, I want to double down on the mission. And the mission is exactly what you just said. And I believe a lot of my generation is like, you see it. It's just what's in it for me. It's about me. It's about building my career. It's about building the money. It's about getting to 50, 100, 200K a month, where all those things are good. But I think when you place more emphasis on your plan instead of trusting in God's plan freely, even if it's totally different than what you have wanted to do, there's a little bit of I personally believe danger. And Patrick talked about it, where it seems like America's getting to a place where we're losing God's favor, but I think there still has to be the holding on to, at least for my generation, of like truly seeking after God's wisdom and preferring his plan over yours. Like, I try to live like that. I try to preach that message as much as I can through all the conversations that I have, because that's kind of what ends up happening, is like what you just said. A lot of the guests that I've interviewed they had this, and then this ended up happening. Yeah. It didn't happen the way they wanted to, and they didn't plan for it, but it ended up being a lot better than what they had imagined. And it's kind of the funny, ironic part about God. It's like, he holds back of like what you think you want. He's like, I'm not going to give you that. And it seems like a failure. And then you look back 5-10 years, like, wow. Yeah. Like, I could have never imagined that I'd be doing what I would do. I could have never imagined I have a 7-figure squad with hundreds and thousands of people viewing my stuff every day. I could have never imagined that. But I trusted. And that's the part where I want to leave the audience honest and just trust the Lord. So if you trust the Lord, I applaud you and encourage you to keep on trusting the Lord. If you don't trust the Lord, I encourage you to take your faith and put it onto the cross. But that's...
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I follow the Bible versus any self-help book I could buy at Barnes & Noble. If you look at the Bible is 6,000 years of recorded history. And if you want to live a better life, everything that you go through in life, jealousy, sex, lust, covetousness, all the sins that you go through in your life, marriage. For example, for me is how am I supposed to find the right wife in my life? Because I'm 0 for 2, bro. I'm 0 for 2 and I got kids. And I'm in family court. I'm in child support court. And I think I had custody of kids. Right? So how am I supposed to figure this stuff out? Well, if I reference the Bible, and again, what got me was God hit me not in my heart, but more in so in my pocketbook, because I wanted to make sure I economically couldn't provide for my children. Well, all the economic stuff, all the money stuff that I ever wanted to derive from and base my business on was a set of values and principles and standards that would stand the test of time was where? In the Bible. Time tested. And listen, eras change, tribes change, people change, but human behavior does not. And the living word, the why it's called a living word, because the more you read it and the more you go through life, the more it applies to you. I've seen people not even go to church, not even believe in God, but they follow biblical principles, and their lives are blessed because God's word does not come back void. Even if you don't play in worship, and guys, I see one of my sons there, see one of my daughters there. They're following my word. Eventually, they come to the church. Eventually, they come to my son Christ. But in the meantime, since you follow my word, I've got to honor that because God's word does not come back void. In other words, if you're exercising his principles, or you're exercising his teachings, he's got to honor that. He's not going to say, I'm just going to be. Now, the difference with heaven is a different story. But if you're following here on earth, those godly principles, to be a better man, to be a better husband, to be a better wife, to be a better mother. Proverbs 31 was my checklist for my wife, my now wife, who I had an argument this morning. I had to apologize to her right before I got here, right? Because we got into argument this morning. And I realized, shit, she's right. Because she's a wife and woman of noble character, right? And so she displayed her character. She displayed her disposition, was to get me back centered to God. That's what a blessing. And in a wife, according to Proverbs, is a blessing from God. So I don't want to dishonor this blessing. So think about that. Even if you don't follow God, isn't that a good rule to have in a relationship, in a marriage, on how to run your life? 100%. It's not, I'm a man, I'm a woman. It's not that. It's about honoring God, honoring a purpose, honoring a higher power. You get these principles from God. And if you do build that relationship with God, oh my gosh, the things they'll have you see, the things they'll have you experience, it'll blow your mind. I don't deserve this life. I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve the money we have in the bank, the investments we've made, the wife I have, the kids we have. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. It's been given to me. And now I've got to steward over it. I've got to manage it to the best of my ability to advance why these gifts, why this wife, this children, this business, the relationships I have, my friends, my partners that are here. I've got to steward these relationships and set the example for them to want to follow me and to rock with me and to lead this movement forward. And then along the way, who gets the glory? Big man upstairs. The big G-O-D gets all the glory.
I think that was one of the most powerful ways we could have ended it. Probably the powerful. Seriously, I thank you for your time.
For sure, bro.
You're tight on time. You're a busy man. I appreciate you taking the time. I really do think it hit a lot of people out there. I believe so.
I pray so.
We'll see if it did. Comment down below. Again, seriously, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Guys, Faith-Made Millionaire. I'm going to link it in the description, okay? I highly encourage you to read it. Everything that you just saw. Imagine this, but like in a book, in like months or years. It was like years writing the book, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Years of writing, years of processing the knowledge, events, everything, all in one book. I highly encourage you guys to get it. Actually, I'm going to do something. If you guys do really want it, just comment down below. I'll personally order it for you.
Look at you, man.
If this interview gets like a 2
And by the way, whatever you order, I'll gift you to give to others.
Let's do that. So you guys comment down below if you made it to the end, okay? And if you want a copy of this book, I'll personally buy it for you. And then find a friend that you would also personally like to give the copy to, and I'll order it for you. I think Amazon works now where you can order someone. So just comment down below if you want it, please. But anything else you want to leave the audience on?
Listen, America right now needs leaders. Yeah, I believe our country is overmothered and underfathered, and I think men need to rise up and take their rightful place in society, in the family, in the home. Women need to take their honorable right place in the family and the home too as well. So it's a two-part story. Women need to do a thing, men need to do a thing. But bottom line, we need leaders. And I pray that those leaders are God-centered, God-believing, Bible and scripturally focused to make sure we lead our country in the right way. This country was created under Judeo-Christian principles, and it's taken our country this far. And sadly, we're starting to lose and erode those things. And if you give the chance of faith to enter your life, to allow that seed to grow, and the right seed in the right environment to foster that and cultivate you're in the right proximity, because you need the right people around the right company to do the right things so the right experiences can start to happen in your life. I pray that's so for you, and God willing, you guys see this and you find a way to change not only your finances, your business, but more so ways to change your life for the better. God bless you guys.
See you guys on the next one.